Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz, and I almost ran out of tranquilizers over the weekend. Thank goodness for the widespread use of legalized marijuana dispensaries, because that was as wild a sporting weekend as you could possibly imagine. So many different things happening on so many different levels and different platforms. It was just absolutely scintillating, and it only figures to be enhanced this coming week. So good to have you guys with us. As I said, Mike Lubitz, a very nervous man. He wants nothing to do with the aforementioned Mike Mayo in the next series, where he's proposed yet another ridiculous bet that you would think that he has 0.0 Blutarski numbers, chances of winning, as he now predicts that the Tampa Bay Lightning will sweep the Florida Panthers out of the second round of the playoffs, which in the NHL really is, that should stand for anything can happen, right? It should be ACH. Anything can happen in the National Hockey League. All right, so we have the hockey thing set up for tomorrow night. No bets. All bets are off.
I'm done. I'm rooting them on. I'm done betting. That was a lot.
So many things happening. I mean, there were a zillion different things taking place, including the Heat then clinched their series finally against the Philadelphia 76ers. Who, wow, I mean, you talk about the towel coming in from the corner. Did they throw in a towel in that game 6? What on earth? This process is ground to a halt with the Philadelphia 76ers. And, wow, if ever a team need to just completely regroup and think through what it is that they're doing. James Harden, could he possibly command, what are they going to have to pay him, like $250 million for 5 years?
Well, it's
in the max deal if they re-sign him.
Stays in this, he's allowed to stay in this deal, and that's on him for $47 million. Or he opts out, and he was supposed to, if he was James Harden, get 5 years, $270 million. Now the guy we saw is not getting that from anyone. Like, no one's giving him that.
I mean, he may as well be Hawthorne Wingo out there. I mean, in terms of value to the team.
He had one quarter.
Disappeared again, in both games 5 and 6 after having that one hot fourth quarter. And just intermittent greatness is all you get from this guy anymore.
And at this point,
And it's more rare than it is, a consistent happening. It used to be amazing. You'd look at any box score, you'd see Harden's name, and there was like 38 points, 16 assists, 9 rebounds, and night after night after night. And his team was winning when he was with the Houston Rockets.
Yes.
Since he's drifted around, it's been abysmal at best for James Harden, and he looked like a shell of what he was just a couple of years ago in this series against the Heat, at a time where a guy like that could take Chris Paul, same thing. All of a sudden, he's a shot fighter.
Nowhere.
Yeah, and it happens, right? You see it in boxing more often than in other sports. I don't know if this is going to bear out, all the way through the future, but can you imagine being an owner of a team? I don't care how much money you have. Like, would you pay $47 million for a dog, Lubie, no matter how much you love the dog?
Oh, no, you're talking to the wrong guy.
$47 million, right? You blow by, a place and you see a dog and you go, wow, that dog looks great, huh? How much is it? Yeah, you're figuring the guy's going to say, well, you know what, sign the adoption papers here, $200 gets you out the door with the dog.
Yep.
All right, which is fine, right? You're donating supposedly to some kind of society that's going to further and advance the possibility that these dogs will be spared and eventually find a good home, like my 2 dogs, Skippy and Holly, right? They're very happy here.
I presume.
Although, Holly fooled us a little bit that she was this, super friendly, exuberant puppy, and now, quite frankly, she's a bitch.
She hates everyone but you. I love that.
But I'm glad I'm taken care of. But I wouldn't have paid $47 million. I mean, if they said to me $47 million, as much as I love Skippy, I might have had to pass on that, no? So imagine you're the owner of the Philadelphia 76ers, and it's Harden's option whether he wants to come back or not for $47 million. I don't even think it has to be mutual. I think it's a player option. Who structured these contracts? In the NBA, I mean, that is amazing, right? That a guy who just had a dog of a season and looked like absolute garbage in the postseason.
Yes.
And that's after forcing his way onto your team after just dumping on another team that had all kinds of great expectations because of the fact that he was on the roster, but just wasn't the same guy. Now, that was more the fault, I would say, of Kyrie Irving being a space cadet than it was of James Harden losing his his greatness and his big edge that he had over other players in the NBA. But nonetheless, it looked pretty clear, did it not, that this guy, it's Jerry Quarry time.
He shot.
Correct?
Yeah, he shot. I mean,
shot fighter, yeah. Put him out there. It's a name. But other than that, it's kind of going to be an easy win for the guy that's looking to find a way to force the champion's hand and get a fight with Muhammad Ali. That's pretty much what's happening. But he has the option, I believe, to come back to
he can opt in.
The 76ers for $47 million.
Yes. I mean, he was supposed to opt out because, again, you want the long-term deal, especially at his age. The way he was playing, if he was still good, it wasn't going to last long till you get the 5 years.
Who would give him that contract now after seeing
now,
that?
No one. But going in, remember he had a nice stretch at the beginning with the Sixers, and it looked like he was motivated again. Remember last year with the Nets, the first half, where he showed he could be a different Harden. He was going to get 5 years, 270. Like, it was an automatic.
270, I think, is what he weighs right now.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Yeah, he's become Oliver Miller, only in the backcourt.
He doesn't give a shit. Well, look, that's the thing. It's not even that he didn't play well in the playoffs, which we've seen. He only shot 2 shots in the whole second half of that. Like, it's an elimination game. The latest process is on the table, and he only shot, and Embiid's dying. Embiid literally, for the last 2 games, was holding his back the whole series, and he's trying. He's out there. He's bleeding. He's sweating. And Harden's like, Dude only had 2 shots. Like, not that he made them. He only put up 2 shots when their team couldn't hit the side of a barn.
This is an arcane reference here, but
sure.
Watching Embiid, and this was before your time, it reminded me of the actor Walter Brennan in the show The Real McCoys, where he just was like slumped over the entire time, and every time he made a move, it was with a limp, and he was holding the side of his back there. I mean, Chester from Gunsmoke with even more chronic back problems. That was Joel Embiid in the series. Doc Rivers gets a free pass. He comes back and, believe it or not, is highly coveted supposedly by the Los Angeles Lakers. They're disappointed that Rivers is going to be getting a nod and returning to the Philadelphia 76ers. But the Heat, they did what they had to, obviously. Yep. Another cliche there, if I can throw one out there.
That's fine.
They finished it off, and they looked impressive in the last couple of games.
Yes.
They dominated the Philadelphia 76ers, something you were expecting a little bit more of in the series. You thought, okay, Philly, with Embiid back, they can win one game. Those were 2 ugly games in Philadelphia, but Lubie, and this was the big question that was being asked on social media and in various sports circles. If you were the Miami Heat, would you rather tangle with the Milwaukee Bucks, who lost a Game 7, got blown out by the Boston Celtics yesterday, or would you rather face the Celtics, who, as we were saying, we picked up on this sort of at the midway point of the season, right around the All-Star game. All of a sudden, the Celtics were playing great.
Yep.
And, it's not like we noticed it first, but you couldn't help but see that something was happening there. And they still got pressed to 7 games by Milwaukee, who was a vastly superior opponent with Antetokounmpo than Philadelphia was with Embiid, despite Embiid's brilliant season leading up to the postseason.
Himself.
So what would you say? Now, most people would say that they'd rather not see Giannis Antetokounmpo, especially he of the 4 changes of pivot feet during the course of executing a layup. How are you supposed to defend that without fouling? I mean, honestly, referees really need to take a look at the floor once in a while.
Well, that's what's saying.
And watch what this guy's doing.
Well, that's what is interesting. Like, people have hailed him. He's the best in the world now, which I'm not going to fight him.
He is great. I mean, it's fun to watch. He is a very determined, great, talented player. But, my God, if you give a guy 5 steps to the basket,
well,
I don't know that I could score in the NBA, but you hit it on the head earlier before the show. I mean, it's like the little kid that gets the ball in half court and runs all the way to the basket and then puts up an underhanded layup.
It's what it looks like when he gets the ball.
Without a single bounce of the ball. It's worse on the inside, though, when he starts making all these dipsy-doodle moves, where he's back and forth and doing all this shake and bake stuff. And you're watching this guy's feet, and he really does. He looks like Len Goodman lecturing some, rapper about how to do the cha-cha.
And he never dribbles. Like, that's what's great is he'll grab a rebound and not put it right back up, but somehow be on the other side of the hoop without dribbling and then dunk it. And it's like, how did he get there without dribbling?
It's crazy, yeah. I mentioned this guy before because I used to play a lot of 3-on-3, 4-on-4, even some full court basketball, but it's mostly half court. when I lived in Miramar here, and I was in my 30s, just, started the family there. The Jess man was just born. Used to go out and play basketball every night. And there was a guy named David Glazer who, in these 2-on-2 and 3-on-3 games, you might end up guarding from time to time in the low post. Now, he wasn't a bad basketball player. He wasn't great, but he wasn't bad. But he would change pivot feet half a dozen times.
I hate that.
Then hit you in the chest with an elbow, put up a hook shot that missed, and call a foul on you. And you're like, Dave, I mean, never mind the half a dozen traveling incidents that led up to that shot and the elbow to the chin. I mean, how could you have the nerve to possibly say, I got it? But you can't defend that. I mean, if a guy's just going to, change pivot feet with impunity and be able to get away with it for the entire ball game because the refs never look at the guy's feet, impossible to stop. So that might have been a real problem for the Miami Heat, who don't necessarily. I mean, Bam Adebayo's on the all defensive team. It seems like year after year he's a candidate, or they're screaming that he should have been the defensive player of the year among and he is a guy that gets consideration, but I don't think he can defend Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, that would have been a blatant mismatch, would it not?
Well, I think what you would have done is just thrown a lot of bodies at him.
Throw Deadman at him?
You would have thrown. I would have just thrown a lot of guys at him. I mean, look, they showed what I said 2 years ago, and I was sort of proven wrong because Middleton has become a legit number 2 for a team that won a title, but everyone else is in. And they lost P.J. Tucker, who was a huge part of that team, gave them a lot of toughness. They wouldn't have lost like that versus the Celtics the last 2 games if they have a P.J. Tucker on their team. And they lost a couple other guys, so they're just not as deep as they were, and that was a big part of their winning. And Drew Holiday had a really good series at the end of last year because he could be the third guy. Without Middleton, they eventually ran dry. And that was the thing is, people are like, well, who would you rather? You don't want to face Giannis. I'm like, yes, I do. The Bucks without Middleton? I would much rather face the Bucks without Middleton than a fully healthy Celtics team. The Celtics are literally the Heat, not a little better defensively and a little less deep. So, like, it's hard to beat your own style a lot of the time. So, I'd rather face the Bucks team, which is, look what they did. Giannis was great the first quarter, and then the rest of the game, he still can't shoot a 3, and he still can't shoot middle. So, go Giannis. Run around like an asshole, and let's see if anyone else can beat us. And that's what they did with the Suns, the Mavs. They're like, look, we don't care what Paul and Ayton and Cameron Payne and Cameron Johnson do. You're not going to beat us, Booker. And he didn't. We're like, Giannis, we don't care what the hell you do. No one else is going to beat us. And they got demolished. Like, the Celtics don't play that way. Like, Marcus Smart will come out of nowhere with fucking 25. And, like, they're very much like the Heat, where your star could be off.
Look at this guy Williams yesterday. Hit 7 threes like
exactly.
He was Rex Chapman against the Bulls. Incredible.
So that's the thing about the Celtics.
No, I like the Celtics team. Obviously, it's going to be, you would think highly contentious all the way through. I don't know what the season record was, but the Celtics early in the year were not very good.
Yeah.
And they rounded into form. And the way they rebounded in this series, they were down 3-2, went to Milwaukee and won.
Yep.
And, they had blown that game 5 and found themselves in a real predicament, but managed to gather themselves and win in Milwaukee and then blow out City yesterday with an amazing performance all the way around. Red-hot shooting performance. Jason Tatum is getting salutes from all of the even most cynical observers of basketball, saying, the guy's a legit superstar at this point, or darn close to it. And they manned, a real attempt to work in synchronization. So sort of, a mirror image in some ways of the Miami Heat, maybe with a little bit better talent all the way around at the top level, especially if your guy Tyler Hero is not up to par.
Well, that's the
which
thing.
He hasn't been.
The Heat don't have Lowry, and whenever he comes back, he's not himself, and he was supposed to be a big part of this playoff run. Bam and Hero are supposed to be the 2 and 3, and they're inconsistent. Butler was the best player in the playoffs this year. I mean, Giannis was the only one close, and Giannis hasn't done it. Like, Butler's been great every game, but he doesn't have a number 2. Like the Celtics, between Brown and Tatum, you get them every night, but the Celtics don't go like 11 deep. Like the Heat were bringing out your 7 in that last game, and he played well, and Strus woke up, and so that's the little difference in these two teams. But they should go head-to-head. It should be a freaking war, which, as a fan, I'm not really excited about, to be honest.
Heat 2-point favorites at home. Very low
that's what this series will be.
A cohort of points there. 2-point favorites at home against the Celtics. And both of those teams will be in action, the local teams here in South Florida tomorrow night. So that's going to make for some interesting use of the remote here. Thank goodness
Yeah, I don't
for
get.
texting, right? Because now you're able to switch the remote up and go back and forth. I think that one needs to be, the Tuesday night. Need to make plans to go to some sports bars
So you
somewhere
can see both.
and watch both
I hate
games.
that they did that. Like, a lot of South Floridians were complaining, and of course, NHL wasn't going to hear it. But, like, in a head-to-head Panthers Heat same night, especially around the same time, no one's watching the Panthers. Like, there's got to be a way they could have made a Wednesday, done something different. Like, that made no sense to have the Panthers the same. You can pick your schedule if you're the NHL. Like, I don't understand that at all. And Bettman has come out saying, "Oh, I care about the South Florida market. We care." No, you don't. You don't care. You openly proved it. And that's become the big debate. And it's funny, South Florida, you guys definitely have made it clear you don't care so much about the Panthers now. They did win a series, so maybe the steam will build. But the NHL sort of cut into that steam because the Heat series and the Panther series are on the same day, which makes zero sense. If you're the NHL, you're trying to get into the South Florida market. It is a top 15 market. The Heat have owned it the last 2 decades. The Panthers have not done anything. And again, the reaction I get from 5 Reasons leads me to believe the younger audience doesn't care about the Panthers. But hockey is fun. And when your team's in it and your team's winning, it's even more fun. So don't you want to capitalize on that? No. The NHL, Gary Bettman, whoever the hell handles it, totally screw the pooch on this one. And now it's going to be every night. And I love Defo, and Defo will probably make sure he watches Panthers and then Heat. No. Most fans, because the Heat have been the only consistent franchise the last 2+ decades, will watch the Heat. Yeah, I'll check in on the Panthers. I'll keep track of the Panthers. But I'm not going to be watching them. Like, they're on the same time as the team that actually has a chance to win the title. The Panthers were the President Trophy winner, but because of their history and what that last series was and who they're facing this round, I hope they win. I think they can win, but I wouldn't predict them to win, and I wouldn't predict them to win the title. The Heat are in the conference finals. Again, it's going to be a dogfight versus Celtics, but they're the franchise we've seen win. We haven't seen the Panthers win. So to put them up against each other's stupid. And yeah, the people that go to the games are very different fan bases, but at home, especially in the playoffs, you'd get Heat fans watching the Panthers. You definitely get Panther fans watching the Heat. To have them on the same day makes zero sense. And there had to be a way around that if you're the NHL. And I don't get it, and I get it. ESPN and TNT, I think, have both properties. They have both the NBA and the NHL, and they want different nights. And if you're ESPN, you'd rather have the Rangers and the Panthers. Okay, but there had to be a way to work around that to try and bring this market into it, you would think. If you're thinking long-term, you're thinking trying to get NHL to matter again, getting the South Florida market would sort of be important, and they sort of spit in the South Florida market's face. We'll see what happens going forward. I do think the Heat should prevail. I do hope the Panthers prevail. But I'm very nervous about both series, so we'll talk about it as we move forward. Heat, Panthers, both kick off their next round Tuesday night. So we'll talk a lot about that. If you want to check out more of us each and every morning, just Google The Defo Show, DEFO. You want to check out our exclusive content podcast, we do that on the Believe Network, Believe.com, search After Hours today. We talked with him last week. Why not do it again as it worked out for the Heat? NBA player for over 15 years, was an analyst with the Oklahoma City Thunder, now an analyst with the Detroit Pistons, and very closely follows the league. The one and only Grant Long joined us today on After Hours to talk about the Miami Heat's victory last round of the NBA playoffs and the upcoming conference finals. So we talk about that with Grant Long. And if you want more of us here, we do it each and every day, our South Florida content, The Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10. And Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10, you're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.